but they are extra dimensional because they are from outside of our dimension. So very often, here's one of the hallmarks we've had from these alien invasions, which, by the way, in order to be a true investigator, these incidences, they seem to have in common just two things. Just two things. They seem to have in common, and I will cite for you all of them that have been occurred in the last 2 years. But there's many of them, and they only have in common that now the alien creatures happen to be 8 to 10 feet tall, 8 to 10 feet
Yeah.
tall, and this is common in all these incidences that have been happening, both on our continent and on other continents, also in South America, in Europe, and other places. They all seem to be 8 to 10 feet tall, very large, larger than any human really is possible. It's unless it's like some terrible gigantism human that has some terrible sickness. But
But
they're eight to
aren't
ten
they
feet
kind
tall.
of like aren't they kind of translucent? So they're like half in this
Yes,
dimension, half in the other. Because
that is
I had
that.
Gene Decode on that was discussing
Mhm.
this with me on my channel on Nino's Corner.tv, talking about how it was almost like they were partially in this dimension. They weren't fully here.
Exactly, exactly. And that is the second commonality that we have with all of these incidences that are happening across America and across the world is that number one, they are 8 to 10 feet tall. And second one is they are partially translucent, ephemeral. They are partially, at least partially, uh, they are extra dimensional. They appear to have people will shoot bullets at them, and the bullets will just go through. Will just go
So
through. No effect.
could they be hologram technology? Could they be government technology?
Um, the answer to the first one is no. They're not just holograms.
So
And
you
the
believe they're
second,
coming through in from another dimension?
yes, I do, and I also believe that they are the cabal is actually using portals and conjuring, for lack of a better phrase. They are conjuring, they are manifesting, they are creating these portals and obligating these alien entities to come through and exist in our plane for short periods of time, really, is what it is. So it kind of is it's kind of like sorcery science
Like
mixed
black
together.
magic science type stuff.
Yes, yes, like the sort of thing they do at CERN and other places as well. It's all sorcery mixed with breakaway science. That's what we're looking at. And
So let me
another
ask you
thing,
this. Let me ask you this, John. Are they here to stay, or are they just visiting for lapses of time and then going back into their dimension? Or are they here permanently?
uh, no, they are temporary. They have a hard time holding on to physicality, but they're not holograms because they are actually partially physical, and they can manifest physicality for short, intense bursts as well. That's why it's very harmful when there's talking heads that say, "Oh, all of this is it's just a magic trick. It's just holograms and blah blah blah." The reason that's harmful is because they are not just holograms. Even though bullets can pass through them and things like that, but uh, the problem is this is going to happen again and again. And the first person that goes up to these entities and says, "Hey, so and so told me you're just a hologram. I don't have anything to fear from you. And I've got my gun and I can shoot at you," like they did at Miami Mall. They
Yeah.
shot they shot many people. Apparently, everyone in Miami
Really?
has guns, and they shot at these creatures. They shot many people shot guns at these creatures, and the bullets went right through. So they could have responded by saying, "Hey, I just proved you're just a hologram, so I can attack you," and all that. Well, the day that happens, somebody's going to get their heads cut off. And that's what we're trying to avoid right now.
Well,
Because,
I don't
like I said,
understand. If our bullets are going through them, wouldn't they have the same problem with us? Wouldn't they just go right through? I mean, because they're not really here.
no, no, because they are able, they are not holograms, they are manifested extra dimensional creatures. So they can have bursts of pure physicality. You see, that's why they can't. That's why, okay, we have to look at the other examples that have occurred. If let me see, I don't even need to share a screen for
So
this.
these things, are they evil in nature? Are they demonic in nature?
Um, you know, the only person that can really truthfully answer that is a person who has confronted these creatures physically and then through their spiritual discernment felt from the creatures, evil or good, or sometimes neutrality, where they just don't want to be there. They've been forced to be there, and they just have no preference regarding humans whatsoever. But the only person who can really answer that is somebody who has physically confronted these creatures and felt through their spiritual discernment. Because you feel it every time. You
Yeah.
always, when you confront alien entities, you feel what they are, and you feel their intentions. So
Gina said,
that's
Gina said that it'd be like you walking through your house, like they kind of get pulled into this dimension, and it'd
yeah,
be like one of us just walking through our house, and the next thing you know, we're in another dimension, walking through their reality.
yes,
Your reality all of a sudden changes, and you're somewhere else, and you're half in your house and half somewhere else, and you're wondering what the
yes,
hell's going on. Is that what's going on
yes.
there?
It sounds very good. Yeah, Gina is extremely perceptive because that's what I believe is happening here, and that's one of the reasons why you had all these at the Miami incident. First of all, let me see the Miami Mall incident was on January 5th. It was on January
Yeah,
5th, it
was it?
says,
Yeah, it was. It was a new. Yeah, it
2024.
seemed longer, but
Yeah,
you're right.
and the cover story that was used was a group of teenagers were throwing fireworks at each other and resulted in the arrest of four teenagers. Okay, so that's your cover story. You have to grab that, look at it, and analyze it. Well, it looks like the fireworks explanation was necessary because of because of gunfire. Because apparently everyone in Miami has guns, and they started shooting at these aliens. So how do you cover up the sounds of the guns? You have to say, okay, it was fireworks. Okay,
Got you.
and then you have to say it was a big riot. Four teenagers arrested doesn't sound like a big riot to me, but
No.
that's what they put in the reports. And then I received other intel from law enforcement that this was the cover story that was used was actually an incident that had happened previously, like 2 days before or something like that.
Mm.
And it was a real incident that really happened, but it was a couple of days before. So the police authorities were directed to use that story as the cover story because they had some real physical evidence of it, because it actually did happen. I
Could
don't know. Go ahead.
these teenagers have opened a portal by accident somehow? Because I've heard that was also a story.
Yeah,
Gene said that they were messing with some kind of technology that they could have made at home, frequency type technology that opened up a. They needed the power from the mall. They plugged it in at the mall or something like that, and
right.
the machine kind of started opening up these portals. Could that be? Is that what you're hearing?
There were several witnesses who saw that and who reported that they did see a group of, I guess, young adults, I would say, young adults who were dressed kind of flashy. He described it just kind of flashy. And they were wheeling around what looked like a television VCR device. And they were just wheeling it around. And then they found a place to plug it in and use the power from the mall, like you said, and they were able to start creating a portal and start creating that, and that portal started to manifest some kinds of creatures that came out of that thing. And
So
like I
these
said,
kids
and
knew. So do you think these kids developed this technology and then knew
um
they needed a bigger power source, a more powerful power source, and plugged it into the mall to make it work?
no, I don't even believe that those were kids at all. I believe that they were probably young looking adults who were agents for the cabal, who were funded and sponsored, and were probably a what you call sort of like a special forces team, flyaway team that is able to go places and do ceremonies and rituals to manifest whatever the cabal wants at that moment.